Okay, today we are playing a game on Hollywood. We are in the Platinum SR range, and we will be playing Winston the entire way through. Make sure to enjoy it while you can, because from this point on, there's going to be a lot of Moira videos coming up, because that's most of the replays I have right now. So, our current team composition is Winston, Zarya, Genji, Reaper, Ana, and Lucio. We have a dive comp. Things to be sad about today are that we don't have a Mercy, which is always very sad. In this game, I would trade Ana for Mercy, because we have a dive comp. Lucio is better for a dive comp than Ana is, so I would trade Ana for Mercy. Because we still kind of need a Mercy. That's just how this video game is right now, right? Like, one day we might not need a Mercy, but right now we need a Mercy. Other than that, it's dive comp. You don't usually see a Reaper in a dive comp. He's a little bit unusual, but, you know, it's fine. He can be there. Winston, Zarya. The dive combo of tanks. Not much to say about it. In the accompanying email, we have a couple of things, but the important part is, how can I get better at being more aware of the bigger picture without either tunnel visioning on what's in front of me or missing something obvious and or pressing while checking my peripheries? So there's not a very easy answer to this, because if you can't sort of do it automatically, you have to train yourself to do so by just like, I'm trying to think like the easiest way. In like MOBA games, the advice we give is like, you set up a metronome for like 2-3 seconds, and then every time you hear the metronome tick, you look at the minimap. I don't think that necessarily works so well for Overwatch, but maybe you think to yourself something like, every time I reload my gun, I'm going to just check the flanks. Or every time I reload my gun, I'm just going to like look left and right, or I'm going to look behind me, you know. And, or maybe you go like, first time I reload my gun, I'll check the flanks, then second time I reload, I'll look behind me. Something like that. And then the idea would be that eventually it would become muscle memory, and you wouldn't need to think about it anymore, you'd just kind of do it. That's probably like one of the easiest ways to do it, other than just like thinking, otherwise it's just you're just gonna have to be like really aware of the fact that you don't do it, and you're just gonna have to think to yourself like, continually throughout the game every few seconds to look around. And then, you know, like, yeah, that's really tedious to, like, keep thinking that to yourself, but eventually you don't need to think about it anymore. I don't really look around all that much, because what I usually do is, defending or pushing in. Like, right at the start, I'll, like, take one, like, sweeping look across the place, right? And I'll make note of where everyone is, because it's pretty unusual that you can't see everyone quite quickly, right? And if you can't, they're probably trying to flank you or something like that. So I'll just, like, look really quickly and make note of where everyone is and what their team comp is, and just sort of keep track of where everyone is in my mind. And then if I don't see a person suddenly, they've gone missing, then I'll look for them, right? And I just sort of, like, keep, like, a mental map of where everyone is. This is something that's probably easier said than done, because I've played this game a fucking lot, so I know what people are likely to do, and where people are likely to stand, and where people are likely to go if they're flanking, and if I know where somebody was, I know what route they're likely to take to try and flank someone, because I know all of the maps. But, if you're still learning how to play, that's not going to be so easy for you, and you're just going to have to probably look around more frequently. But for what it's worth, I don't actually look around all that much. I just kind of make note of where everyone is, and then keep track of that in my mind. And then if I can't see someone anymore, I start looking for them. And then, like, the kill feed gives you info as well, because I don't really need to look at my team that often. If I'm, like, pushing in and I'm playing Reinhardt, yeah, I'll look behind me to make sure everyone's with me. But then, like, you probably don't need to look back there again, because if you're just keeping track of the enemy team, if you can only see 5 people in front of you, someone's probably behind you if they're not dead, so you should start looking for them at that point. That kind of thing. I don't really, like, look around at set intervals. I just go, I don't know where someone is anymore, so that means I need to try and find that person now. So, yeah, hopefully that answers your question. It's not a very easy question to answer. You just have to be really aware of the fact that you don't do it, and just, like, consciously make an effort to train yourself to do it. Like, you know, every time I reload, I'll look around. Every couple seconds, I'll look around. that kind of thing. It's easy if you're playing someone like Winston as well, actually, because Winston has no aiming requirement as long as you're pointing at the person you're hitting them. So it's worth remembering that you don't need to look at the person you're tasing. While you're tasing them, you can be looking at anything else on the screen because you will be hitting them. That's just how Winston is. So maybe just try to bear that in mind if you're playing like a low aim requirement hero, just like Reinhardt Winston. You'd be like, I don't actually need to look at the person I'm hitting. I can just like look at anything on the screen, and that will help with your awareness, and then, you know, try and grow it out from there, basically. It's not a very easy question to answer, unfortunately. You just have to be really aware of it. So hopefully that answers your question. If you felt I answered it inadequately, please let me know. I'll try to expand further, but let's just start the game, because this is a fairly long game. It's you know, it's one of those things where it's not actually as long as it seems, because you have to remember there's like, yeah, okay, we play 4 rounds, but that's like a lot of switching places in between there, which is actually where like half the video is made up. So, enemy team, they've got a Junkrat, which is very tiresome. We want to kill the Junkrat. We did see his trap in the doorway right there. Well, I don't know, I saw it. I don't know if you saw it, because maybe you didn't. Should try to break that, really, or call out that it's there, because somebody tries to go through that doorway, and they step on the trap, Reinhardt kills them, you know? Even if it doesn't necessarily impede you, it's usually worth breaking anyway, just because you never know what your team's gonna do, basically. So, we jump on the Junkrat. Junkrat's now off the high ground. Oh, look, they've got a Hanzo. So, their team's really good to play Winston against. They've got, like, not much that can stop us as long as we avoid the Reinhardt, basically. So we're really low HP, and then we realized we didn't have our bubble, and then we put the bubble down over here for nothing. So now we have to wait for the bubble again before we can actually jump in, because we put the bubble over there for no reason. Half our team is actually dead, so we shouldn't even be trying to do this anymore, because we can see up in the kill feed, we lost everyone. Like, we didn't lose everyone, but we lost everyone. We shouldn't still be fighting, because this fight will not work. If you see in your kill feed that 2 or 3 people are dead on your team, nobody's dead on the enemy team, just leave. All that's going to happen is you die. And that's exactly what happened. We ended up dying. And, you know, our team had to reset anyway. Like, we're kind of staggered, so that's obviously not good. But also, like, it's really early in the game. They don't have any ultimates yet, so us dying to them for no reason just gives them ult charge, which we don't want to do. And, you know, Platinum SR, this sort of thing starts to matter more. So, Graviton has happened over here. Zari's actually built up her Graviton pretty quickly, considering not very much has happened yet. And yeah, they're all dead now. There's gonna be a lot of like, oh yeah, the Graviton just killed them moments in this game. That's a recurring thing. So, the street phase on Hollywood is sometimes difficult to push through. You know, it's not that unusual for a game to get decided here. You can very least stall out. The enemy team performs a lot of very flagrant misuses of company resources. Like, 2 very strong ultimates right back to back are about to get wasted before our eyes, and it's gonna be very tragic. So we jump on the Ana right here, and then we kind of give up on it, then we jump back in again. Oh no, Mercy's using GA right now, we're gonna use Primal Rage. Fair enough. But we keep committing to the Primal Rage we keep committing to hitting people while we're low HP, and we're like, oh, I didn't realize I was that low. Like, yeah, you know, you got 1,000 hit points. 1,000 hit points is a lot of hit points, but you still gotta remember that you are immortal, just like the rest of us, and, keep track of it. Primal Rage is one of those ultimates where it's really easy to just, like, accidentally kill yourself because you didn't realize you were so low HP. So half their team is dead right now because Reaper just span on them. And then Zarya uses her Graviton for no reason, so that's terrible. Watch what Reinhardt does.
Reinhardt's alone, just kill him. No fear. He blew up.
He's not allowed to do that. So now they're down Graviton, now they're down Earth Shatter. Those are the 2 big ultimates on their team. Because the other ultimates are Riptire and Dragon Strike. They don't have Graviton, so Dragon Strike is significantly less scary right now as a result of that. So we're going back right here because we see Hanzo, and we want to kill Hanzo because we're playing Winston, which is fair enough. But then we get shot in the head as we're going in. This is where the secret mechanic of Winston comes in, which is flying at the enemy ass first. Strategic use of Winston's ass is like the only mechanic he really has. which is just you find your target, you jump at them, and then as soon as you jump, you spin around so that you fly at them ass first. Then you can't get shot in the head as you're flying at the person. This is usually just generally better to do. Like, even if the enemy team isn't really something, like, even if it's just like a soldier or a McCree that you're jumping on, if you just fly at them ass first, they just can't shoot you in the head, right? Like, it's just something that is generally blanketly better to do. It is a very awkward motion that you might fuck up and jump in the wrong direction a couple times, but it's helpful because you just reduce the amount of damage you take while you're flying in, which is always good, especially for someone like Winston who is quite soft. And then we just kind of peek the edge again while we're low HP, and we get shot in the head and we get killed. But, oh, look at this. They die. They don't survive. Yeah, it turns out Graviton's a really strong Ultima. Who knew? Who knew? That's not the only time that's going to happen in this game. It's a recurring thing. We are going to play a couple rounds on this map as well. We play 2 rounds on each side, so... We've gotten through the street phase completely uncontested, so that's good. The third checkpoint, reasonably difficult to push through because of the final tunnel right at the end. We are playing very passively right now when there's not much reason to do so, because we know that they're going to end up spawning in the second checkpoint spawn room, so they have to run across the hangar to get away from us. While these doors are opening, us standing on the payload does nothing. And this is worth remembering on any payload map. I have pushed a button I was not allowed to push. This is worth remembering on any payload map that has a door that opens on it, which is that you being on the payload does nothing to accelerate the door opening. And it can't move through the door while it's open. Like, Dorado, first checkpoint, door opens, takes 1 billion years, you know. These doors take a while to open. You might as well go and fight those people while these doors are opening, and then come back when the doors are open, because you standing on the payload during that period of time does nothing. And you know they have to run across the hangar, so you might as well go out and try to pick them off as they run away, then come back to the payload afterwards to start pushing it again, because you standing on the payload while the doors are opening does nothing. Doesn't often matter, can matter. You know, that time that you pick off the Mercy because she spawned in the wrong room and had to run across it can often be the thing that loses the checkpoint because it staggers the team. So here comes Winston. He's nano boosted. We just got sound barriered. Great times for us. Suddenly Winston's like, oh shit, I'm just gonna walk away. just leaves. He just leaves. Oh, no, fuck it. Fuck it. He just walks off. So now we're in the Graviton, and now we're gonna die because we're in the Graviton, and that's just what happens. We don't have Reaper wastes his ultimate because he uses it after Graviton killed us. If you don't have a Zenyatta on your or a Moira, I banged the table. I'm sorry. If you don't have a Zenyatta on your team or a Moira, you typically die in the Graviton. That's just how it is. Neither team has a Zenyatta or a Moira, so both teams do a lot of dying in the Graviton this game. So, if you're doing, like, a long jump like that, as well, like, that jump takes a while to complete, that's definitely one of the ones where you want to fly at the person ass first, because you're, like, spend a lot of time sailing through the air. So we've got, Primal Rage right now, so we basically don't have to be afraid of anything that's happening to us. We are a little unfocused, it looks like, so, like, we get nano boosted, and we're like, alright, we're going for Mercy. Then we just, like, give up on her as soon as she's got the bubble on her. Like, just keep going after her, honestly, because, like, you want to try and kill the Mercy, or at least force her to pop her ultimate. So, but either way, we're back here, now we're gonna pin Ana into the corner. It doesn't last, again, like, Mercy tethers to the Ana. At that point, like, it actually just becomes really hard to kill Ana. Like, Primal Rage isn't going to last that long to kill her. Like, you would kill her if Primal Rage lasted long enough, but, like, at that point you don't have enough duration left on Primal Rage, you might as well switch back over to the Mercy again, because you won't kill the Ana. Just, like, do a lot of switching targets during that fight. Like, just like, get on the Mercy, run the Mercy down. Just, like, stay on the Mercy, because, like, if you don't focus the Mercy, she just starts healing somebody, the person that you are focusing, and as Winston, like, you don't kill that person. You don't kill the person being healed by the Mercy, you don't kill the person being healed by the Ana. And, like, if both the supports are together, it's really awkward, and then you do have to do a lot of switching, but, like, if you're trying to kill Ana and she's getting healed by Mercy, there's no point hitting Ana anymore. You might as well start hitting Mercy. And, like, if you're hitting the Mercy and the Ana starts healing her, you might as well start hitting the Ana. It's really awkward. But at that point, you're occupying both of the healers. So, here's the thing. If you're occupying both of the healers are dead for all intents and purposes, because the rest of your team is fighting the rest of their team, 5v4, and they're missing both their healers. So, at that point, even if you're switching between the two healers, you're demanding both of the healers' attention, which means they can't help their actual team fight. So, even if it gets kind of awkward like that, you demand both their attention, which effectively kills them for all intents and purposes. So, Graviton's happening over there. We as Winston we like the Graviton happening, basically because it gives us a lot of ult charge and it feels really good. Misalign the bubble a little bit because, fighting Soldier is very difficult like this, where, he'll put if you're in plat, like, he's gonna know to do this. He's gonna put the biotic field down and he's gonna fight you, because you can't kill him through the biotic field. So, you have to think about how you're gonna put your bubble down at this point, because you have to put it in an area where, like, you can safely tase him from inside your bubble while he's in his biotic field. So you have to kind of, like, make this, like, Venn diagram kind of setup, basically, because you have to be able to be in your bubble, tasing him, but he can't shoot you without leaving his biotic field, basically. It gets awkward, but, it's really awkward and, like, difficult to describe in, plain terms, but one Soldier knows, like, Plat SR, the Soldier knows he can fight you if he puts his biotic field down. So now you have to think about how you're going to put your bubble down so you can hit him in the biotic field while he can't hit you, basically. Which is like, weird and difficult to think about, I know, but, like, he knows he can fight you now. Like, it's how it is. So he killed their Mercy, that's great. Our team isn't here yet, so they do arrive right now, though, because we killed the Mercy while our team is coming back, and then, right as they arrive, Mercy's dead. Team ends up dying. Great, we push it to the end. I don't think they get out here in time to touch it again. Yeah, no, here comes the dragon. Ooh, spooky, came through the doorway. So now let's go over to the enemy team. Spoiler warning, they get it to the end of the track, as I have previously already spoiled. So we continue playing Winston, seeing as I also told you that we were playing Winston the entire way through this game. This is probably no great surprise. Our team is still the same. This is concerning from a defending standpoint. We have a Mercy now, which is good. Mercy's a good hero, as it turns out. It's concerning from a defensive standpoint, though, because the attacking team is way more likely to have a Pharah on it. Especially on maps like this, because this is a good map to play Pharah on as the attacking team, because there's a lot of geometry to work with. So, us only having an Ana to try and deal with a Pharah is concerning. Genji kinda can, Winston kinda can, but, like, I'm of the opinion that if you're defending, you always want something that can counter Pharah, because the attacking team is quite likely to have a Pharah. It's less likely for the defending team to pick a Pharah, even though, like, you can. Like, there's no reason the defending team can't pick Pharah, they're just way less likely to. The attacking team is quite likely to have a Pharah, so... we've lost Mem. We're low HP. We're purple right now, so all of this is terrible, of course. Defending as Winston is quite difficult, because, you know, you kind of have to dive in on people. We also got made purple, like, right at the start of the fight, as well, which made it difficult because we can't really jump in at the same time, because we're purple. And this is very concerning as well, though, because we lost that fight really handedly. So we built up no ult charge on our... We should not be doing this, because, like, our team isn't really here yet, and this is too far up to be fighting right now. They, like, rolled over us, so they probably have some ultimates now, or are very close to having some ultimates, while we have none, because we lost the fight really badly. So, the concern is that we will just get rolled over on the first checkpoint right here. So, a bunch of their team are purple. We're purple right now. We're no longer purple. Both their healers are dead. They've lost the fight. Hopefully, anyway, right? Like, if they lose both their healers, they should lose the fight. And D.Va's kind of spooky to fight as Winston because D.Va does a lot of damage. Oh, we've been nano-boosted, like, right as the fight ends, which is not super productive. He's got us in his sights. We're gonna take him into this corner, and we're gonna, like, fight with him. Like, look how strong Nano Visor is, even though we were, like, nano-boosted as well for part of that. Like, he just fucking minced us anyway. A lot of our team were dead anyway, by that point, so honestly we should have just left, because we had lost like half of our team by the point that he got nano boosted. We might as well just leave, honestly, because Hanzo got some shots in and killed people behind us. So, you might as well just leave. Like, it's a, you know, like, they still have to push it really fucking far, right? Like, that's the reason that we fight that early on Hollywood. It's like, even if they kill us there, we can get back and fight them before they get to the next corner, usually. So, there's no reason to be afraid of, like, backing out in that position if the fight's going badly, because it's worse that you stagger yourself defending on a payload map, because they will just push it much further while your team can't defend, and the defending team is going to be, like, way more likely to stagger themselves in that situation, and that's how it ends up, where, like, this is how the game goes, where, like, it feels like the attacking team just pushes it through the track uncontested. It's because, like, one person gets staggered, and then the rest of the team goes up to try and contest the payload 5v6, then they lose the fight. Maybe they don't lose everybody, but they lose somebody, so then you arrive, but it's still 5v6 in the best case scenario, and, like, that's just how it happens. And then because you're never actually fight 6v6, the enemy team just pushes through the payload track uncontested, and that's how, like, these really stompy, like, payload matches end, where, like, one team gets to the end with, like, I kicked the table, I'm sorry, by the way. This is, like, how one team gets to the end of, the payload track with, like, 4 minutes left, right? So, this is a kind of rambling and, tangent-y point, but, if you're starting to lose the fight, like, don't be afraid to just leave the fight, right? Like, it's better that you leave early, and it's like, if the fight starts going badly, where you're missing, like, half your team, even if there's a chance you can turn it round, like, just leave, honestly, because it's pretty unlikely you can turn it around in a lot of cases, especially when you're looking at, like, a nano visor, which is, like, one of the strongest ult combos in the game. It's better to just back out and completely negate the risk of staggering yourself, because that can end up starting the vicious cycle where just nothing happens. Yeah, you know, like, you die when that happens. Then that happens, you die. We don't have a Zenyatta, so, like, even a Moira can't save you from that one. That one just kills you anyway. Like, we don't have a Zenyatta, that kills us. It's meant to. Like, you're not meant, when that happens to you, you're meant to lose. Alright, if you don't have a Zenyatta, you just lose. So, now we have to go through the awkward spawn, right? And we've lost both of our healers. As soon as we see both our healers are dead, keep leaving. Don't stop. Just don't look back. Just keep running, because you're gonna die. So we ended up in the awkward spawn where we had to run across the checkpoint. We lost both our healers, then we lose everyone. So now they get to push it through the first part of the checkpoint uncontested. That's not the end of the world. I keep banging the fucking table today. Jesus Christ. It's not the end of the world that they get to push it through the first part of the hangar uncontested, because most of the defense on the third checkpoint of Hollywood is during this straight path, so it's not the end of the world that they get to push it through there uncontested. But they just used a bunch of ult charge, so they do get to generate a bunch of ult charge off of killing us again, right after they use their ultimates, so that's also bad. It is important to think about, like, how these things can affect the ult economy of the game, because you need to, like, especially as you get higher SR, you need to kind of keep in mind, like, roughly what ultimates the enemy team is going to have, and how the way one team fight went will affect the ult economy, right? Because if you lose one fight really handedly, they get, like, a lot of ult advantage over you, because they just crushed you, right? So they got all of the ult charge of killing you. You got very little in retaliation because you got stomped. So then you need to think to yourself, alright, they're gonna be way closer to their ultimates than us, so we now need to, like, be really careful that they don't just steamroll us with ultimates, and we have to maybe play more passively so that we don't open ourselves up to, like, Earth Shatter or a Dragon Blade or something like that, you know? And if you're defending, if you're attacking rather, and you lose, like, one push really handily, where you're just, like, you try and push in, you just get absolutely fucking crushed, right? The defending team builds up a bunch of ultimates, ult charge off of that. So then you need to think to yourself, alright, even if we've got, like, 1 or 2 ultimates right now, they've got more ultimates, because we lost that fight really handedly, so they get a bunch of ult advantage over us. at that point, as the attacking team, you would want to think to yourselves, okay, we are just going to try and push him, and we're going to use no ultimates. And, this is called a dry push, right? Which I kind of hate as a term, but, it's descriptive. You just push in and you go, alright, we're not going to use any ults when we try to push in. And the reason you do that is to elicit an ult response from them, because even if you don't use ultimates, when they see you start pushing, they are likely to use ultimates to stop your push. So that's how you try and skew the ult advantage back in your favor. As the attacking team, you say to yourself, okay, they've got ult advantage, we go in, we use no ults. If we're going to use an ult, we use one ult to try and provoke a response out of them. And then they use more ults to stop our push, hopefully. And then we come back with more ultimates as a result, because we just had this fight that we still lost, but we got to build some ult charge off of it while they used ults in the fight, so they didn't build ult charge off of it. And that's because that's what tends to start fucking with attacking teams, is they don't think about the ult economy of the game. So they try and go in and they use ults on a push that isn't likely to work. So they'll go in and they'll use Graviton on a push, but the enemy team has got 4 ultimates. So even though they use Graviton and maybe Dragon Blade, they've got more ultimates, so they win the fight anyway. Then you have used your 2 very powerful ultimates, so that by the time you've got them back again, the defending team has more ultimates to try and fend you off with. And it can end up being very awkward. So that's kind of how you try and even it out as the attacking team. The defending team, you just try and be really reserved, basically, where you're more willing to give up ground, because if you don't give up ground, if you think the attacking team has the ult advantage over you and you try to just keep positioning as normal, they will use their ultimates while you don't have enough ults to fend them off, and they will just kill you because they have 6 ultimates and you have 1, right? So you have to be more willing to give up ground. Even if you're in even if you're on Eichenwald and you're in the choke point, right? If you think they've got 6 ultimates and you've only got 1 ultimate, you have to start falling back as they push in, because if you don't start falling back, they will just kill you with their ultimates. Whereas if you fall back, they might not use their ultimates. If they do, they might not kill you because you're playing more defensively. And then you can hopefully stall out time to build up more ultimates while you're giving up ground, and then you can have the big 6v6 ult team fight on the point, and then you actually have a chance of winning it. Whereas if you don't acquiesce any ground at all, you just die, and then you don't even get the chance to defend your point, right? And bare minimum, you get more ultimates out of them, even if you lose the fight, because you played defensively, they had to use more ults to kill you, maybe you had more ults to fight with, at the very least you get more ults out of them, whereas if you keep playing completely regularly, you just die, and there's nothing you can do about it. You don't even get to try and fight, right? Overwatch is a game that's very based around ultimates, so this is the kind of thing that you do have to bear in mind when you're playing. You do have to think roughly how many ults do my team have relative to their team, and then that affects how you have to play. Because if you don't let that affect how you play at all, you just end up losing team fights, and you end up losing entire games because you never take the ult economy into account. And then that ends up to really weird, inefficient uses of ult resources, and it just fucks the entire game. It's worth thinking about, especially as you get higher. This kind of thing starts to matter more. Especially for the defending team. This is a really rambling and incoherent point. This is hopefully the thing you learnt today, is think about the ult economy. Because, we're playing a Winston game. There's not necessarily so much to talk about in this game, because Winston's fairly light mechanically. Also, in the email, you said that you noticed quite a few instances where you didn't jump in, take an advantage to jump in, so I've kind of skipped over a couple of them that did happen, where there were an isolated Anna, I'm also just that's how I'm gonna justify it. Actually, I just even if I think to myself, I was gonna point that out, I usually forget about it anyway when I actually start it, because I just get distracted talking about some nonsense how the ult economy is terrible, right? It's worth thinking about, though. It's the defending team never thinks about that, and the defenders are always never willing to give up ground, right? They feel like giving up ground is a sign that they're just losing. And yeah, you are losing, but if you don't give up any ground at all while you're losing, you just lose harder, because you were losing and you weren't willing to admit that you were losing. So you kept playing as if you were winning, but you were losing. So you just lose harder as a result. So we got tranked right there, which is sad, but we got woken up immediately. So Anna was probably like, thanks. I know that's how I always think. Well, it was how I thought when I played Anna. I don't play Anna anymore. That hero's a loser. Anna is like the weakest support in the game right now, honestly. She's better than she was, but like, not like there's not really any reason to pick Anna over another support. Like, all of the other supports kind of do something better, right? Like Moira's as much healing as Anna, but she does more damage than Anna, and she has a better ultimate than Anna usually. Sometimes Anna's is better, but Moira's is generally better. So we were playing very aggressively right there. Weren't really allowed to be that far up during the hangar segment of this checkpoint because, and now we're starting to come out here to try and kill people, and like their whole team is dead right now, so you know, not the end of the world. Worth thinking about as well. Could try and stagger this diva. Granted, your team does have to work with you on this one, but like if you talk to people as well, you can be like stagger X, right? You can try and call out to stagger him because like. Diva's a really easy one to stagger, even just naturally, because she has to come out of the mech first, but, if you are in a position like that, where, like, you can just you can hang around, because the enemy team is respawning, you've got time to kill, it's worth, prolonging someone's death, so that you can, artificially stagger them like that, because, like, the Diva didn't even put up a fight, right? Like, if you can call out to your team and try to get them to be on the same page as you to stagger them, that can end up getting you, like, 10 extra seconds of time out of that, which is all you can really hope for as the defending team, really, is to just get more time. So we got clipped by the self-destruct and then finished off by Soldier, and now Soldier's going to use Tac Visor and kill people. That's how it is. As the defending team, honestly, pretty worth picking Reinhardt against this team comp, because yeah, like, Winston's still good. Like, Winston still kills Hanzo, Anna, and Soldier, assuming, you know, not necessarily Soldier, but hopefully kills Soldier. But, yeah, Winston still kills, like, those people. Like, he's still good against support, still good against Hanzo, but, like, he's not great against Soldier, where if you're playing Reinhardt, you can just, like, completely block all of these heroes, right? And they're not very good at breaking your shield, because Hanzo's not good at breaking your shield. Like, he's okay, but he's not incredible. Soldier's good at breaking your shield, but then that's it, right? Like, Zarya isn't good at breaking your shield. Lucio isn't good at breaking your shield. Diva's not great at breaking your shield. Like, Reinhardt can block all these people, and they can't really do that much about it. And they're really weak to Earth Shatter, because they don't have a Reinhardt, and they're all still, like, gonna be on ground level, right? Like, Soldier, Anna, Lucio, Zarya, and then, like, maybe not Diva and Hanzo, but, like, most of these people are gonna walk at you, and maybe Diva and Hanzo do as well. Like, they're really weak to Earth Shatter, you can block all of those people, and they can't break your shield very quickly. So, Reinhardt's pretty good to pick against that team. Winston's still fine, like, you know, Winston's still fine to pick against that team, but he is, like, harder to play on defense because, like, he is an aggressive hero, so you have to be, like, really patient and pick your moment. This would be an example of not picking our moment. It's really just unlucky that we jump forward right as he does that, so, like, yeah, we get fucked. It's an unfortunate circumstance, to be sure. The thing is with playing Winston on defense is just that you have to be, like, really patient, so... you know, Winston's the kind of hero where, like, you don't want to be patient. You want to go out there and you want to fight people, you want to tase people, but if you're defending as Winston, you do have to be pretty patient. We will talk about that in the guide that I will upload in the coming days. Because playing Winston on defense is kind of hard, because it's a little counterintuitive at times. So, we are now going to run right at them. We've gotten hit by every single Zarya right click, which is unfortunate. Oh, and then we just get exploded. Be careful while when you're walking straight towards the checkpoint. Or the choke point, rather. Because, yeah, we just suddenly get spiked out of nowhere. We know roughly what their team is going to be. They've had a Hanzo at all points in time. Soldier as well, so, like, it's a pretty spike damagey team. Winston's still pretty soft, so, you know, you do have to be, like, thinking about it still, because, like, that can happen to you. Alright, so now we are going to jump straight onto the soldier because we obviously want to do that. We misalign the jump and we don't end up on the high ground, which is of course very sad, but half their team is dead. So even though soldier is still up on the high ground, it's not going to matter because half their team is dead, so soldier is also going to die. Diva can do nothing. Again, we could have staggered her death, even though we want to try and capture the checkpoint right now. We could stagger her death super bad as well, and then get some free time pushing in on this checkpoint right here. Diva's like the easiest one to stagger, because she takes like a while to kill anyway, but like, if you stagger the here, if you try and like draw out someone's death, you can end up staggering the enemy team, and we have talked many times at length about why staggering people is, getting staggered is bad, so if you can engineer that for the enemy team, it's pretty terrible. You know, you do have to get your team to work with you, so it's not always going to work because of your team, but it's worth thinking about. If you've got the opportunity to engineer a stagger, try to engineer a stagger. So we've got some nano boosted Gongo over there. We've got a Reaper spinning. We used a lot of ultimates to make this happen. Because Genji did use Dragon Blade as well. So we've used like both our big damaging ultimates and nano boost. So at this point I would start thinking, we are probably not going to push this much further, because think about how many ults they've used. They've used no ults. So at this point they're going to start having an ult advantage over us, and we're going to be lacking our really strong ultimates as well. So I would start being concerned at this point, and then we end up getting killed by self-destruct. We are positioning like really greedily, because the enemy team is like largely respawning at the same time. Right? Because none of them are, like, super staggered. So, us playing so aggressively is pretty greedy and easily punished, because they are all gonna be basically together when we come out. We are playing Roadhog now. We don't play Roadhog for very long. Like, you have to remember, you have to try and keep in mind roughly when all of the team are spawning. Like, if the entire enemy team is spawning together, you can't really do that, because it is easy to get punished, because like, half of your team is standing on the payload, so you at best have 2 people with you, and if all 6 of them come out of the door, you die, because they have double your numbers, right? And yeah, they killed us with ultimates. They had a lot of ultimates as well, so, which is as I would expect it to go, because I'd think to myself, alright, we just used a lot of ultimates. They've used no ultimates so far, so they're gonna come at us with a lot of ultimates, and we are not gonna have many to keep fighting. And if we lose this one fight, we lose the round. So, well, we don't necessarily lose the round, because in that position, you're only trying to get it as far as you can. Just getting the first checkpoint on Hollywood in that kind of situation is honestly a win. So we hooked Diva. They've got a Zarya. It's very sad. Zarya does make things difficult for Roadhog. If you can hook someone, like, right as your hook comes off cooldown, her bubble won't be off cooldown, so you can try and kill the person then, but, like, it gets really awkward. Yep, I've had that happen. Good old latency situation. I know how that feels. I, in general, have really high latency, so there are quite a lot of times where I'll push a button, and then the ability does not happen, which sometimes is an ultimate, and that's very sad. That's very sad indeed. Buy better internet, is always going to be solid advice. Hopefully they don't, you know, one day they're going to take our net neutrality from us, because they keep trying. They keep trying, like, every year. One day it's going to happen. It's just like the inexorable march of time. And then they're going to be like, pay $20 extra or you can't play Overwatch. Like, oh god, that's going to be a great time right there. It's just one of those things that's just like, yeah, every year comes up. And like, every year we fight for it, but like, one of these times is gonna slip through. Like, one of these times they're gonna sneak it through, and then it's gonna all be over. Like, it is gonna be over. So we're playing really aggressively right now. We get the Hanzo, so that's great with the help of this Reinhardt. Then Reinhardt has built up Earth Shatter, so that's great. And now we've been nano boosted as we jump in. That's also great. We have lost our Ana, that's terrible. However, we are really tanky right now. However, nano boost is starting to run out.
Are you kidding?
And then we get pulled into this, and then we get barraged. You're meant to die. you're meant to die. There's not much you can do about that one. If Anna tranks the guy or something like that, then, you know, maybe you live, but, like, that's meant to kill you. It's one of those situations you're meant to die, and there's not a lot you can do about it. So, it's not the end of the world. It's not, you know, they've still got some pushing to do. They just lost Hanzo, so that's good. They're down a man right now. Here's Farah. You know, we've put our bubble down in a very bad position, because, like, this is not helpful to put it up here, and now we need to wait for it before we can really jump into them, and we don't have time to wait, really, so that was a bad use of the bubble up on the bridge. We're really close to Primal Rage, so we're just trying to, like, hang on, build up Primal Rage, and we try to push them all off the payload, as one does when one has Primal Rage. Now, they're in the Graviton again. Still, neither team has Zenyatta, so if you get caught in the Graviton, you die. The real, like, moral of the story today is if the enemy team has a Zarya, you should really heavily consider having a Zenyatta or a Moira, because all of the times that the team has gotten caught in the Graviton, except for the really bad one by the other team's Zarya, there's been basically nothing any team can do about it, because if you get caught in the Graviton, you're meant to die, unless you have, like, this kills you unless you have Zenyatta. Like, no question asks, if your Zenyatta doesn't have Transcendence, you die in that situation. So, if there's a Zarya on the enemy team, consider picking Zenyatta or Moira, because both of their ultimates can stop Transcendence. Moira's is less consistent than Zenyatta, so if you're, like, really concerned about it, pick Zenyatta, because, like, this was a really good game to illustrate why Graviton is a very strong ultimate, right? Like, every time a team has gotten caught in the Graviton, it's just like, yeah, there's basically nothing they can do about that, except for the one really bad Graviton. Graviton's a really strong ultimate, as it turns out. So, nothing very overarching stands out in this game that much. For the awareness thing, which was, like, kind of a thing that I kept getting really distracted for, and didn't necessarily bring up. But, yeah, just, like, you have to be really, like, cognizant of the fact that you don't look around as much as you should, and just try to, like, train yourself to look around. And, you know, it's really tedious. Like, it's a really tedious part of getting better, training yourself to look around more frequently, but eventually it becomes muscle memory, and you don't have to worry about it so much, right? Like, it gets there eventually. So, you know, not, you know, just like, every time I reload, something like that. That seems like it would probably be the best way to try and train yourself to do it, really. I can't think of anything better, at least off the top of my head. So, thank you very much for watching. If you did, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer, and I hope you found the video helpful.